Every time you buy milk, you're paying someone to rape a cow.
What has veganism got to do with racism?
Nike literally took black British culture and used it to try to make as much money as possible.
So I'm like, what planet are you on?
In 2018, no single human needs an animal product to survive. There's a lot of kids that are waking up to this fact. This is like a movement, and there's going to be a bunch of people that are lagging behind, and if you want to be at the forefront of actual progressive thinking, then you know where to come.
It's a fad, not a movement.
It's not a fad. What is racism a fad as well?
What the fuck has veganism got to do with racism?
Essentially, this is speciesism. You're
Insulting.
and
insulting and wrong.
I think what you said is absolutely really offensive and quite disgusting, actually. It's almost kind of like saying that we've got equality for black and brown people now. So, yeah, of course we've got to have the cows and the sheep. What is that saying about people of colour and the position of society that you yourself view us in?
I think that's an appalling point of view.
It is appalling.
But you would go and rape the cow yourself?
No.
Fraser, would you
No,
do
I
that?
would not go and rape a cow.
You can't
Would
pay
you?
for an
Why are you paying someone to do it? Why are you paying someone
Nobody
to do
is
it?
going around. I'm not paying anyone to rape
Every time you buy
cows.
milk, you're paying someone to rape a cow.
No, you are not.
Yes, you are. Every time you buy milk, you are asking someone to rape a cow. You are
What
commissioning the
is
rape of a cow. You are a rape commissioner.
Insane.
No, okay, actually,
I've been called a lot of things in my life, but a rape commissioner.
I think it's important.
No.
I think it's important that we don't use the word rape when it to apply it to
Sexual harassment of cows.
to the artificial insemination.
Do you understand? Do you know the cow is locked in a cage? The cow is locked in a
I probably know
cage.
better than you, mate, because I saw this stuff going on. So
So
at
would
the
you say
end
you're
of the day,
desensitised to it?
No, I'm not desensitised to it.
It's
What
part
I'm
of your normal
saying is
living,
that the
then.
language that you're using.
So you're more offended by the
is
language than the
actually-
actual murder and rape of these
No, because the
animals?
language is offensive.
No,
because
it's
come
not.
on, I'm sorry, mate, but like if I'm going to take you down one day to a women's shelter where people have been abused, raped, and you can sit there and you can say that to those women's faces. And then we'll have a conversation there. It's all well and good you saying this in your little vegan bubble and all of this sort of stuff, but when you're faced with people whose lives have been destroyed through rape and domestic violence, and you want to sit there telling them that their experience is similar to some cow in a field, that's a level of arrogance I haven't even come across.
No, it shows your lack of respect for actual sentient
No, it
beings.
shows your lack of respect for
massively-
women. That's what it shows.
I think it's possible to have a more ethical consumption of meat without it necessarily being cruel. I'm very comfortable with killing animals in order to eat them.
You are comfortable with that?
Very comfortable with killing animals in order to eat them. I think that industrial farming is definitely exploitative and it's bad for the environment and does need to be reformed, but I don't think it needs to be cut out 100%.
I'm all for freedom and liberation, but when it comes to the systemic abuse of sentient beings, I think that we need to start questioning when there are alternatives which are actually better for us as people and better for our spirits and our minds and our souls and the future of humanity. That's why I think that we should be non-carnist.
Why is it any of your business whether what we eat is healthy or not?
Because
But
everyone's
look
connected.
after your diet,
Everyone's
by all
connected.
means, but what about everyone else? If people want to eat turkey Twizzlers, that's their business. You know, leave them alone.
I think cultures all over the world have practiced, have
I
not
think
eaten
we've
animal
evolved
products.
and you guys are living in the past because of your taste buds and because of your inability to order an almond milk.
What? Well, it doesn't go in my tea very well, I'll tell you that.
I acknowledge that my views on this topic are quite extreme, but I think for us to dismantle a system that's gone too far, we have to take extreme measures.
I don't really mind if Justin Timberlake dances like Michael Jackson or Eminem raps or white hippies dread their hair. But Nike literally took grime MCs, it took sports athletes, and it took the cultures that have come out of urban areas of Britain, particularly London, and used it to try to make as much money as possible. I think there's a kind of blind spot around when culture is actually appropriated for profit. Not by people who like art or music or style, but by institutions that want to make a quick buck out of something that has come out of communities, that has come out of societies, that have come out of culture, right? And I think that's the real cultural appropriation that we should be battling.
Weirdly, I'm going to disagree with you on this a bit, Adam, because
That's
I do
cool.
feel like grime has, even though there's a whole thing about it being underground, all this kind of stuff, it has always been aspirational in that way and essentially quite pro-capitalist. We can end up patronising people in a way which makes me feel uncomfortable around this.
I don't think anyone owns culture, that's the thing. I can't really say that someone owns this and someone else is stealing it. You know, the big companies, whether it's Nike or the record labels, they see this stuff and they're like, shit, that's the new thing, we want some of that.
I think that the conversation of cultural appropriation actually benefits a divisive culture way more than it benefits a united human front. If you want to live in a world that is like, you know, apartheid era, then that's like, you know, that's the direction that you're taking it in if you're not going to let white girls wear dreads or if you're not going to let someone else wear a bindi.
I think there's more attention to these little things that are kind of annoying and maybe a bit funny and don't really look very good on white people. But I think it's not real where the real kind of problems lie, do you know what I'm saying?
It does actually worry me a little bit that we're quite happy to say that there are certain practices that belong to black people and that belong to white people. That's not how I want to see the world. I think we should be, you know, challenging racial divisions, not reinforcing them.
London isn't just black British culture. I mean, there's Bristol, there's Manchester, there's Leeds, there's Birmingham, there's Leicester. And it just goes into that whole conversation of like only black people exist in London. We don't exist anywhere else, like the Midlands. Do you know what I mean?
It's also something that's fundamentally lacking in representation. If we're talking about London as a whole, then there was very little representation of any other colours of skin other than black or white. London is also one of the queerest places in the world, and there was no like representation of anything that even looked marginally like alternative in that sense. For me, it wasn't like necessarily the most relatable advert in the world.
The problem is, it is not the job of advertising to represent anyone or anything other than the company. That's that's their job.
There's a lot more to people of colour than grime music as well, and I think they went very specifically for selling working class back to the working class and have mind manipulated loads of people into thinking it's for them, but you know, it's kind of
and could a lot of the people who are living on the estates afford their trainers in the first place?
We can all sit with our little checkbox and be upset that our group hasn't been included or whatever, but it's not, you know, at some point you've got to realise that everyone wants their thing represented. That's what I find interesting. And it's like, well, dump the TV, buy a mirror, I'd say.
Dump the TV, buy a mirror.
It is interesting to see my world on TV, but maybe not to sell me a product and not to maximise profits. Come on, man, like we can do better than that.